Hey, I'm Tommy McPhee, and I will be presenting my final project in interactive sound, the Sonification system for sub-GHz radio frequencies. Now, my webcam is really bad, so I'm going to do the most visually important parts of the presentation first to make sure that they happen. So right here, I have a Flipper Zero multi-tool portable electronic device, and it's capable of a lot of things. You know, it can be universal remote, two-factor authentication, RFID, a whole list. But one thing it can do is it can record and play back sub-GHz radio frequencies. And it can actually record raw, like, audio files. The display's a little bright, but it looks like a recorder you might see in a DAW, but it's for sub-GHz radio frequencies, which are frequencies you might open like a garage door or something with. We cannot hear them, they're far too large, but it can record them. And right here I have a remote for some colored lights that I got off of Amazon, just for the purpose of testing. And it actually operates using radio frequencies, so it'll be a perfect candidate for this test since I don't own a car or a garage door. A lot of the sub-GHz things are more like home appliance things, and I live in an apartment still, so I don't have those things. But I have this to test with, and we're going to do that. So I'm gonna quick record myself mashing some buttons in this controller as such. Record, and you cannot see it right now, but this is basically like capturing all of the signals I'm sending it as if it's like an audio waveform that you might be familiar with, but it's electronic frequencies. So we have made our little test file, and now we're going to see what it sounds like. So I have just connected my Flipper Zero to the computer. We're going to go to this application. It's called QFlipper. You can do this directly from the SD card, but it takes a little bit longer. So we're just going to do it this way, and go to the sub-GHz directory. And I did not, oh wait, I haven't saved my file yet. That would be important. We will call it presentation frequencies. Presentation, save. And then I might need to go back. Yeah, there it is. Presentation, download, and we will save it in our final project directory, presentation.sub. So now let's hear what it sounds like. I'm gonna go in my max patch. And here are all my parameters that we're going to be using to sonify. I'll explain that in a bit. But what's important right now is that I read this file and I select the presentation file that we just created. And it has been read into a buffer. I'm going to go ahead and get out of presentation mode just to show what that looks like. It's in this read file subpatch, and this was quite an exercise in Max. Building this, it really kind of is many of the harder parts of Max specifically you have to work with to kind of read these files and fill these buffers and cut them to the right length. It was a lot of trial and error to get that working. But nonetheless, it was a good etude in Max, and we can see our file already pre-cut to the right length that we recorded, and this shows two pieces of data. Basically, it shows increments of time with a tone and without a tone at the frequency that it was calibrated to read, the radio frequency. So we are going to see what that sounds like now. And this 1929, if you're wondering, is the number of samples that are contained in that buffer. So I have linked these 24 parameters to 24 MIDI controls. I'm not. Oh, it's over here. Moving the. I've already calibrated my MIDI mix here. Let me see if I can show that real quick. My MIDI mix, MIDI controller, I've already calibrated it to the right frequencies. You could just do it from the patch. It would be far less efficient though. And it's been calibrated to these 24 controls, CC 9 through 32. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to observe the sub-gigahertz radio frequencies we've recorded, and we're going to sonify them. So in the sub-gigahertz radio protocols, we've recorded these periods of time for silence versus tone, and that's used to basically create binary information and communicate it between devices. So that's how garage door openers are able to communicate the codes they use to interact with one another, or how, and we'll look at this in a bit, how a customer service announcement in CVS is able to be like communicated from pressing like a button somewhere that sends out these sub-gigahertz radio frequencies that interacts with the intercom, etc., etc. This binary is how this is like digitized, basically. So I really wanted to capture the binary essence of these files and the sub-gigahertz radio frequency medium in my sonification. So what I did was I basically started off with the idea of having two states, one state of a given tone or frequency or pan, and then another state of a given tone or frequency and pan. I kind of broadened it from just having it be either tone or silence to, well, this tone, amplitude, and pan, and then this tone, amplitude, and pan. So effectively, I've created a tremolo between these two states, governed kind of by these lengths that we've already captured. And I have some parameters to sort of scale the lengths to like very long, like maybe 4 seconds or so, to like very short, like audio rate stuff. So it can really traverse both the standard and non-standard sound synthesis kind of techniques in how you're able to play with the sound. You can be modifying things at what we perceive as like a sub-audio rate, like different notes or different gestures, or you can actually be making a timbral effect. So I think that's really cool. And then, like I said, I give you control over like the nature of each of my two distinct states within my system. And I also do some other things to give the performer the ability to interact with the sound. One thing is I filter, kind of the changes. That's rapid tremolo between frequencies, amplitudes, and pans. I offer a way to filter that using the smooth object and allowing the user to control the minimum and maximum smooth. And then furthermore, I also sort of take my buffer of time values sort of outside of the original intended purpose of them just being times, and I offer the user a way to assign each value, like the 0 value for like the tone, or the 1 value for the rest, or vice versa, sorry. I offer them the ability to assign that value, which is intended as a length value, to actually controlling like the amplitude, frequency, or pan of the output sound from that value itself. So sort of giving like another dimension of sonification to these files. And just while we're getting through nuts and bolts, I did do all of the sound synthesis in this gen patch here rather than doing it in Max, because I really wanted to have that granular control of the audio at the sample rate, so that you wouldn't bump up to the limitation of, oh, this process has been sped up to once every millisecond, so this process can only occur at 1,000 hertz. Rather, I give the user like the complete control to kind of hear these processes at the sample level, and what that does is it allows everything to be both a timbral gesture and a sub-audio gesture, like something we might hear as like a note or a decay or an envelope. So I think that's kind of important to how my patch turned out. It gave me a lot of precise control over all that. And without further ado, we'll see what some of these sounds sound like. One thing I've noticed is a lot of times you play around with it and it's kind of in sine wave territory, but once you get it to a little bit more of a chaotic state, you can really have some fun. So we'll see what it's like when we get there. Oh, it seems like all right there. I'm gonna try and mute my mic. Interesting. So yeah, without further ado, I think I'm gonna give one more example. This will be an example that I don't record in real time, and rather something I found on the internet, which is a SubGHz file that allegedly is responsible for playing the aisle 8 customer service announcement at CVS. So that's really cool, and it sort of illustrates the telematic possibilities of this. The fact, not only I think it's cool that someone can load this file into their Flipper Zero and like trigger the customer service announcement and annoy all the employees. I haven't tried that myself. I'd love to, but we have this aisle 8 file that someone has recorded out in the wild, out in the field, and we're gonna see what that sounds like. And this is my first time hearing the file as well, so it'll be an adventure. I'll make sure it's cleared. I think the clear is optional, but nonetheless. All right. Ooh. Wow, that one was super interesting, gotta say. Very pleasantly surprised with how that went. Without further ado, I'm gonna call it a wrap. Hopefully this presentation was not too long, but it's so easy to get into these sounds, especially that last one, and how surprising it was. I guess the CVS had to be very compact in their data and send a lot of interesting signals in a short time. But anyway, I hope that illustrates the scope of the project to a solid extent to understand it. I'll also go through these little parameter directions that I wrote out really quick. Basically explains what I already talked about. But yeah, anyway, it's been really cool hearing these frequencies in the audio rate.